Well, greetings from Elmhurst, Illinois. I'm on 1st Street near the quarry, or the DuPage Stormwater Detention Basin. That's behind me. Directly in front of us is where the lumberyard used to be, Alexander and Franzen. The street on the other side is named Alexander after the lumberyard guy who developed that particular neighborhood back in there. And gosh, through the 80s, I want to say, there was a lumberyard at that location. Well, enough of the local history and enough of the virus for the moment. I wanted to talk about his comedy. Yeah, humor. Specifically, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite American humorists, a man named H. Allen Smith. He was born in Illinois in 1907. I want to say he grew up around the Decatur area for a while. And then after that, he kind of hopscotched across the country. I got to know H. Allen Smith because of one of his books. I remember visiting Edgerton, Wisconsin around 1970 or 71. And there at this family member's house, in their washroom, they had a copy of H. Allen Smith's Rude Jokes. Now, H. Allen Smith, this is what he did. He was a journalist. He was a newspaper reporter, and he was really good at maintaining correspondence. You know, he would keep a card file of stuff and regular writers, and he knew how to share a joke. What he would do is when somebody mailed him a joke, he would file it away. H. Allen Smith, one of his strengths was he knew when the joke would be told and when not to tell the joke. I don't know if you've experienced that, but there's a certain way you introduce the joke to the group. You don't just go, hey, I got a joke, did you hear this one? No, you listen to what the people around you are saying, and then you work it into the conversation. So when H. Allen Smith wrote Rude Jokes, the tone, what he kind of did was to set up everything as if he was at a meeting or at a convention or a hall in front of a bunch of people. And he would talk and he would move the jokes along as anecdotes in a conversational style. Okay, so these jokes, a lot of them tended to be bawdy, but they weren't nasty. A lot of the jokes tended to have some of the better swear words. However, he really was not a mean person. Give you an example of a joke from Rude Jokes. And I can't remember the introduction to this. You have to be kind of like a country sort of person, maybe from the Midwest. We used to have a phenomena called hobos. You know, that was the street person years ago, rode the railroad. A hobo is differentiated from a bum because a hobo is usually willing to work. Well, here's the way this joke goes. It's a hot summer day. Two hobos were walking down the country road, and they hadn't eaten in a while. It was hot and sweaty, and they were dirty, and this road was littered with horse apples. I don't know if you folks even know what a horse apple is, but when horses drop their manure, let us say, sometimes the shape and the size is like an apple. So the one hobo says to the other hobo, I'm sick of being hungry. I'm going to show you how to get something to eat. So the hobo picks up a horse apple in the road, and they go up to the next farmhouse, and the first hobo tells the second one, you hide here in the bushes, watch, I'll show you how it's done. So the hobo walks up to the front door, knocks on the door. Woman comes to the door and answers it. And the hobo holds his hands out in front of him with this horse apple prominently displayed. And he says, "Oh, please, kind ma'am, I am so hungry. If you could just spare some salt, I can bring myself to eat this." And the woman looks at him and lets out a low moan and goes, "Oh, you poor man, come on in, I'll get you something to eat." Well, the other hobo is outside and he's watching this, and the first hobo goes inside, and maybe an hour or two later that hobo comes back out. And the hobo is now clean shaven, he's had a shower, he's in a new suit of clothes, his tummy is sticking out, and he's picking his teeth with a toothpick. And the second hobo's there in the bushes. "Wow, it works, it works." So the second hobo grabs up a horse apple and he goes running down the road to the next farmhouse and trots up to the front step, knocks on the door. The woman answers the door. "Oh, please, kind ma'am, I am so hungry, I haven't eaten in days, but if you could just spare me some salt, I can bring myself to eat this." And this woman looks at the hobo and says, "Well, hell, I got all the salt you can ever want, and there's a giant pile of these next to the barn." Yeah, I always liked that one. The other one, which is no longer politically correct, is, and one of my best friends from York High School considered this to be the absolute worst joke ever. My friend, he would just never let me finish this joke anytime I started up. So a man with no arms walks into a bar, orders a beer. Bartender draws the beer off the tap, places it in front of the man with no arms. The man with no arms says, "Please, kind bartender, I have the money for this beverage in my pocket. If you reach into my shirt pocket, you will find the money, and go ahead and keep it as a tip." The bartender nods his head quietly. "Okay, yeah, whatever." And then he watches as the man with no arms leans over and takes a couple sips off the top of the beer glass. And after about 3 gulps, he can no longer, get anything just by bending over. And the man with no arms looks at the bartender and says, "Oh, please, kind bartender, can you help me with this beverage? Can you lift it to my lips so I can finish it?" And the bartender says, "Oh, yeah, like what the hell, no problem. I'm cool, I'm civic-minded." So the bartender holds the glass up and tilts it back so this guy can finish it off. Well, finishes the beer. They put the glass on the rail, and man with no arms says, "Oh, kind sir, I'm a little mess. Can you just do me a favor and wipe the foam off my lips?" And the bartender's not too thrilled with that one, but he's like, "Yeah, okay," and wipes the foam off the lips. And then the man with no arms looks at the bartender and says, "Oh, kind bartender, could you please tell me, where is the restroom?" And the bartender's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, sure, not a problem. You go out the front door, you go down 3 blocks, and there's a gas station on the corner. They got a restroom there." This one you got to kind of read between the lines. I always liked that one. We got a Bensonville ambulance way up there coming towards us. All right, so this one is a harder one to tell, and I can't quite get it right. This could be a downtown Elmhurst joke because it's about 2 wine stewards, and the 2 wine stewards were arguing about who was at the better restaurant, which restaurant was better. And the one wine steward is bragging, and he says, "Well, each of our wine stewards have their own little sippy spoon to taste the wine, so we don't have to share a glass with the customer." And the other one nods, and the first one says, "Not only that, but we're so hygienic that we can't even touch our fly. What we do," he says, "we have a thread on the zipper, and we use the thread to open and close the zipper." And the second wine steward's listening to that, and he's like, wait a second here now. Are you telling me that you have a thread tied to your zipper so you don't have to touch the zipper? And the other guy goes, yeah, that's perfectly true. That's totally honest. And the second guy says, well, then how do you get your thing in and out of your pants? And the first one says, oh, I use the spoon. Yeah, you weren't expecting that one either. So H. Allen Smith, he had written quite a few books. He wrote for quite a few publications, including Old Playboy magazine. He drifted to a lot of different newspapers. One of his very first books was a book called The Low Man on the Totem Pole. He wrote that during World War II, and apparently it became a bestseller. And not only was it a bestseller, but he coined a phrase. Up until that point, nobody really talked about being the low man on a totem pole. So H. Allen Smith took care of that. Now, there's another book that I like almost better than Rude Jokes. And H. Allen Smith wrote a book called The Complete Practical Joker. Now, when he wrote the word complete, he wrote it slightly differently than what you'd normally expect. He wrote it C-O-M-P-L-E-A-T, The Complete Practical Joker. Well, I don't know about practical jokes as much as this one is BS stories. Mental hotfoots. A hotfoot is a kind of a tough practical joke from 100 to 150 years ago. Days of the wooden matchstick. What you would do is you would stick a wooden matchstick into somebody's shoe, the sole of their shoe, the toe. They don't know it's there. And then you ignite it. And then you watch for the great fun, because eventually the guy's going to feel the heat. He's going to start jumping around and screaming. And that's where everybody gets their laugh. That's a hotfoot. Okay, a mental hotfoot is kind of the same thing. You tell the joke, you tell the BS story, you tell it just long enough and emphasize it just long enough to get a rise out of your audience. But once you get that rise, pretty quick you let on to it's only a BS story. So The Complete Practical Joker has a whole bunch of these gags that H. Allen Smith came across during his career. He was in touch with some people who kind of made it like a, almost like their hobby or career. So a couple of the examples from The Complete Practical Joker are the college campus, where the bell on the quad, the bell would ring 13 at 1 o'clock. It started ringing 13, and the college administration, the students, they had no idea what was going on. They called out all sorts of mechanics. They couldn't figure it out, you know. And one day, one of the deans just happened to be walking through the quad, and out of the corner of his eyes, he sees the barrel of a rifle coming out the window. At the exact same moment, 13 gets chimed. Well, yeah, real quick he figured out what some smarty at the school had done was they were up there with a pellet gun, some sort of high-powered air rifle, and the moment it finished chiming 12, the guy would put the gun out the window and pop off at the bell, and the projectile would make it ring the 13th time. I thought that was kind of cute. The other one he talks about was he had some wedding jokes, and the one that I always remembered is the newlywed couple is coming out on the front steps of the church, and everybody's throwing rice and congratulating. And suddenly, from the edge of the crowd comes this woman, beautiful looking blonde with long blonde hair. She's gorgeous, and she comes running up the stairs. She throws her arms around the groom, and she says, "Sweetheart, sweetheart, I'll always wait for you. I'll always wait. I don't care how long it takes. I'll wait till the end of days." And then she kisses him and runs away. Yeah, nice little mental hotfoot to get a rise out of everybody there. I think it was the same person. He started making it a regular practice that anytime he got invited to a wedding, he would go sit in the front row and he would cradle a shotgun across his knees. I always loved that picture. You know, you come into a regular standard wedding and you think everybody loves each other, and you suddenly realize this guy up in front is, we're gonna take a call here. Hello, can you hear me?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm in the middle of a podcast, broadcast, vlog, whatever you want to talk about it. Would you believe I'm talking about H. Allen Smith? I just got through talking about rude jokes, and now I'm on my way to the complete practical joker.
Okay, well, listen. I'm calling.
You're being recorded.
I'm recorded?
Yeah, you're being recorded. I'm in the middle of
a... I will have my regular phone back tomorrow, but right now I'm calling in standard. Everybody's doing okay here. No buttons to push, so I guess we're okay.
All right. Has anything changed up there?
No, everything's about the same.
Everything's about the same. Okay. How about if I give you a call back in a little while?
Pardon?
I'll give you a call back in a little while, all right?
Okay, no problem.
All right, talk to you. Bye. Anyway, so H. Allen Smith, he liked to collect these stories, these BS stories, and he published them in a book, a collection, The Complete Practical Joker. He also wrote a book on creative writing, and sadly, I cannot remember the title of it. I actually liked it so much as a motivation to write that I didn't put that book in my humor section. What I did is I put that book into my writing section. So with all the stuff, the dictionaries and 20,000 words and the books that I got from York High School all those years ago, yeah, it's in there. He was an excellent writer, I believe. He understood how to arrange the characters, arrange the people, arrange the meaning. I consider him to be a very successful writer, and I would absolutely encourage you to look up, well, rude jokes. It's so much more than just a joke book. A lot of joke books, what they do is they just have a list of jokes. This one is different because the author acts as a navigator to take you through these wonderful tales. So I'm going to leave you with that. Let's hope the humor perks everybody up. Go to your library, go online. You'll be able to find H. Allen Smith. Have a good one.